Hello everybody, Calamity here, and today we are going over Raiden Shogun's Envisaged Echo challenge. And for the first time ever, we're given a team of characters to use this time around, not just the character themselves. So you can see here to my left, we have a trial version of Chevreuse, Toma, and Kujo Sara. You cannot replace these characters with your own, unfortunately. I don't know why. That's just how Hoyoverse decided to be this time, I guess. So yeah, that means they're all at C0. They all have, I don't know what their artifacts are, to be honest. And none of them have Favonius weapons, so getting energy is going to be harder for Raiden Shogun. And you are starting at 0 energy for this fight. So yeah, we're already at a disadvantage, but let's go ahead and get into the arena. This is going to be a long video because there's a lot to explain. So the first thing let's talk about, so we're all on the same page, is the special rules. There's 2 of them for this Envisaged Echo challenge. The first one's called Thunder Surges, which will appear at intervals during the fight. It'll say it in text above the screen. It'll be like, hey, Thunder Surges is now active. And Raiden Shogun's crit damage will be increased by 150%. This is huge, and it should be noteworthy that you should know your build better than anyone with Raiden Shogun. Hopefully your crit rate is in a good spot, because if anything, you might want to trade some crit damage for crit rate, because you're already getting a ton of crit damage for free. But you're not getting any crit rate, so if your crit rate is bad, you might want to change up some artifacts. Now, the second thing you need to know is that when an active character hits an opponent with an attack during the fight, you'll get 4 elemental particles that will be generated. This is basically just to help Raiden Shogun get her burst faster, and this effect can trigger once every 25 seconds. It's quite a long cooldown, but very important to know. Now, if you just want to just see the fight on this Raiden Shogun, which by the way is on a free-to-play budget, this is C0 with a 4-star weapon. We're using the catch. You can see right there. There's the weapon. If you just want to see the fight, use the timestamps below in the comment or the description. But I'm going to go over what the other characters do, because it's very important to understand how they work and how the rotation works, so that you can do much better in this fight rather than just blindly pressing buttons and hoping for the best. So if you already know how these characters work and you got the rotation down, skip to the fight. If not, this is going to take a couple minutes to explain, so let's get started. So if you don't know any of these characters and how they work, I'm just going to briefly go over them. For Kujo Sara, her elemental skill is going to make her do a dash back like this, and then you do a charge attack, and you see that little symbol that explodes? That's a buff. You want to switch to Raiden Shogun right before that little symbol thingy explodes, giving Raiden Shogun a nice attack boost. So Kujo Sara should be the second to last character to go right before Raiden Shogun in your rotation. However, once her burst is active, you don't have to do this whole skill charge attack. Well, I didn't do it right there, but skill into charge attack. Once her burst is active, you can just do her burst, which will also give a buff similar to how you do the skill into charge attack, and you'll get the same effect. They don't stack, so you can't do skill and burst buffs, by the way. Next up is Toma. Very easy character to explain. His elemental skill is a shield. You can see that it's active around us. And his burst is basically going to synergize with Raiden Shogun's attacks. It's going to periodically do pyro damage. Not a lot of pyro damage, but the important thing here is that we're proccing overloaded. And the reason for that is Chevreuse, which if you are not familiar, as long as you're proccing overloaded with her on the team, enemies are losing 40% electro resistance and pyro resistance, which is a huge damage increase. But Chevreuse is also your healer, and she does do a little bit of damage with her burst. You're mainly using her burst to get resolve for Raiden Shogun, right? That's the little ring behind her back where she gets she does more damage with her burst every time you use bursts on your team. So just keep that in mind. And then the other thing with Chevreuse is you always want to do the hold version of her skill, like this. It does way more damage. I'll even take the time to show you, because we have time, just because that's a long cooldown. If you look at the attributes, look at the difference between press damage and hold damage. Huge damage multiplier difference here. So you always want to do the hold version, and I'm not quite sure, but it might generate more particles. Someone might have to correct me on that, but I'm not 100%. But it does do more damage, and doing as much damage as possible is very important, because we are fighting the mechanical array boss fight. So now that you have a basic version of how each character works, what is the rotation that we're going to be doing? The very first rotation we need to do is to get Raiden Shogun's burst active as fast as possible. So to do that, we're going to start with Raiden Shogun's skill. Then we swap to Kujo Sara, do her skill. And as long as you hit the boss, right, you'll generate the particles. Swap back to Raiden Shogun so that she can collect the particles. Swap to Toma, do his skill. Swap back to Raiden Shogun, so again, absorbing the particles. Then lastly, swap to Charus, hold the version skill, shoot the boss, absorb the particles again, and you should be really, really close. This is going to be dependent on your energy recharge for Raiden Shogun. But if you're not, that's okay. We're going to swap to Kujo Sara one last time, do the skill, charge attack, and that should put you really, really close to the correct timing to have the Thundering Surge buff be active and Raiden Shogun's burst also be online as well, right at the same time. And then you want to pop that burst right when you see the text pop up, hey, Thundering Surge is now active on Raiden Shogun. And that's going to be your first rotation. Your rotations after that is pretty much what you're used to on other teams with Raiden Shogun, and you're just going to alt spam. So your rotation will be here, just hold skill, spam your hold skill, and then do your alt or your burst. Burst, skill, and then burst, and then swap to Raiden Shogun, do skill into burst. And that's going to be your rotation basically for the rest of the game. Now, the reason why this sucks is because if you're not familiar with the mechanical array, it's a very RNG boss fight. It has an annoying attack, and it has that whole split phase where we have to waste time destroying an ad, and that wastes so much of our precious time. We don't have a lot of it. So that's why this fight kind of sucks. But now you have your basic plan, you understand how the characters work, you understand how the rotation works. Let's actually go ahead and start the fight. Let's go ahead and finally start this boss fight and get our echo, hopefully. So skill. Skill. I kind of messed that up a little bit. See how we're timing our burst right with the buff? You want to do that exactly. Alright, look for the one with the aura. This is good RNG because we got this spot. It's gonna be close. Okay, I'm sorry. I kind of threw that a little panic towards the end. I was mashing, but very, very close. The reason this boss fight is not fun, right, is because if he does that flying up attack a lot, it's gonna waste a lot of time. You have to wait for it to come back down. And depending when he does it, you know, it's very, very iffy, and it can waste a lot of time. And then when he does the split phase, that's another RNG aspect, because if you get the crab-looking robot, the jellyfish-looking robot, the other robot that digs underground and wastes time, like, all of those other robots are bad. You want the Dorito-looking robot, because it's the easiest to kill, and you can stun it basically when it spawns, like I did, or you can wait for it to dash towards the boss, and then run after it, and then damage both, you know, the ad, and then you can move right to the boss right after, saving you a few seconds. So, remember to do your Raiden Shogun combos correctly, right? We're not just mashing normal attacks like I did at the end there. We're doing, you know, 3 or 4-ish normal attacks into a charge. Remember, her charge attacks are actually really, really strong in her burst form. You just don't spam them because it'll eat your stamina, and we need that to dodge the attacks and to move properly around the fight. So remember that basic stuff, and then remember your rotation. That's a very, very key part here. And yeah, that's gonna cover basically the fight. I'm gonna go over to my build now to show you the character, and that'll be it. Alright, so Raiden Shogun, she's level 90. We were using, as promised, a 4-star weapon. This is the catch. This is the weapon you get from fishing. You're gonna have to do a lot of fishing to get it to Refinement 5, but it's definitely worth it. For those that aren't familiar with this weapon, it gives a nice sturdy chunk of energy recharge, which is good damage. And the weapon's effect also increases Raiden Shogun's burst damage and crit rate, which is also very, very good. Very, very good weapon overall, but let's just say, hey, I don't want to fish. Is there other options? Yes, there are. You can use a Skyward Spine. This is a 5-star weapon, obviously, but, you know, in fairness, it is a standard weapon, 5-star weapon, so use that if you have it. Deathmatch is also another good one. Crit rate is very, very good. Now, here's a weapon option that might not be quite popular or quite obvious to you, but a Favonius Lance is actually not bad if your artifacts are very heavy on offensive stats. The good thing about the Favonius Lance is that it's going to cover your energy needs, so if you don't have a lot of energy recharge on Raiden Shogun, although you should, but for whatever reason, let's just say you have a lot of crit rate, crit damage, Favonius Lance gives you that extra bit of energy you need to burst consistently, and I think this might be a little bit of an underrated choice. I did try it out a bit, and I was having my burst active way faster, but the problem is you are missing a bit of your damage. At least I was when I used it, so I had a little bit more damage with the catch, despite it having less base attack. It makes up for it because of the Shanty buff giving us our damage back. But there's other options too, like you could use this thing as well. It also gives you energy recharge as well. This is an event weapon, so not everyone will have it. But basically at Refinement 5, it gives you a straight up attack increase of 40% when you use your elemental skill, which is very, very strong if you stack it with the Thundering Surge buff and then into her burst. But obviously, if you have any other 5-star weapons, you know, Staff of Homeless, that's going to be really good. I don't know how good Arlecchino's Spear will be for this one, but there's a lot of 5-star options, of course. Primordial Jade Spear being another good one. You know, use your best weapon, and obviously, if you have her signature weapon, there is absolutely no reason for you to make this challenge harder for you than it needs to be. Use it. It's going to be amazing for you. Artifacts, obviously for the set, it's a no-brainer. We're going to be using Emblem of Severed Fate. There's nothing better than that for her. As for the substats, she's one of the hardest characters to build because you need so many different stats, but you can definitely do better than me. Energy recharge is going to be very important. Don't forget that. Crit rate, crit damage, and I would say you should lean more towards crit rate instead of crit damage, as I'm showing you a piece with a huge crit damage roll. And attack percentage should not be overlooked. It's also a very solid stat to have. So right here, another good example, crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge. If you can get perfect rolls, even better. For the sands, definitely energy recharge is recommended for damage. However, if you're using a weapon like the Favonius Lance and you feel like your energy recharge needs are covered, then feel free to opt into an attack sands. I had similar-ish results. Just make sure your energy recharge is around 250% at minimum. If you can get more than that, even better. But it's up to you to decide if you want to use an energy recharge sands or an attack sands. But I recommend energy recharge because, again, we're starting without our burst from 0, and we want to build up to it as fast as possible. So we need that energy recharge. Now for the goblet, it is debatable if you want to use attack percentage or electro damage bonus. If you are using the signature weapon, you might want to look for an attack percentage goblet instead. But just, you know, same thing here. Best subsets you can get. Crit rate, crit damage, energy recharge, attack percentage, etc, etc. As for the circlet, again, we're getting a huge chunk of crit damage in the arena or in the challenge. So going for a crit rate circlet isn't a bad idea. But if you have a good crit damage circlet, main stat circlet with like crit rate subset and it rolled into it very heavily, feel free to use that as well. Only you can really decide what build is going to work best for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, these artifacts are not like the best. You can definitely do better than what I did. Feel free to either farm the domain, Use the alchemy station to exchange your pieces, try to get some better ones. And we just got the brand new artifact, I forgot what they're called, the reshape. This thing where you can, if it was really bad, you can use these feathers that we were given 2 of, and then you can try to re-roll them into better artifacts if you want to gamble that. That's up to you though. I'm not gonna tell you how to spend those precious feathers. It's up to you if you want to use those. Constellation 0, but obviously if you have constellations for Raiden Shogun, this challenge becomes immensely easier for you. Especially this one right here, C2. In my opinion, is still one of the strongest damage boosts a constellation can give you in the game, and like in the whole game, like compared to a lot of other characters. Talents, obviously, get these as high as you can, right? Especially the burst skill. If you can get it higher, get it higher. But mine were at 7, 9, 10, and then obviously remember that she doesn't use her normal attack attributes when she uses her burst. They have their own separate multipliers. So there you go. That's my build for Raiden Shogun. If you have any other questions, comments, maybe you have some of your own tips and strategies you want to share with other struggling Raiden Shogun mains, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And if you are struggling, I'll do my best to try to help you out. But like I said earlier, it's all about understanding the characters, understanding your rotation, and just playing around the buff. Make sure your timings are good. You're not just, pressing the burst as soon as you get it. You want to make sure you're timing it right when the Thundering Surge comes online. And we want to make sure we're not just mindlessly smashing our normal attack button. You want to make sure you're doing some charge attacks with her burst. And yeah, and then other than that, it's just going to be RNG. And that's why this challenge kind of sucks. But even on the runs where you get bad RNG, just practice doing your rotations so that on the run where you actually do get the good RNG. And when I say good RNG, I mean runs where the boss doesn't constantly fly up into the air all the time. And the run where on the split phase, again, you get the Dorito looking bot that you can easily kill. On those runs, you want to make sure you got that rotation down to second nature. And you can do it, without even have to think about what you're doing. It just comes natural to you. If you can get into that state, you can get this challenge done easily. And with that being said, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this was helpful for you, please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot. And again, like I said, Shenhe's Envisaged Echo Guide will be out tomorrow. So if you want to see that, you guys stay subscribed, notifications, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.